Welcome to Convenience Matters. We're here to talk about all things that matter about convenience, whether you're one of the 160 million people that go to a convenience store every day, or whether you're one of the 25,000 people here at the NACS Show. My name's Jeff Leonard. I'm with the National Association of Convenience Stores.
And I'm John Eichberger with the Fuels Institute at NACS. And Jeff, you know, we always talk about things that fuel you, fuel your car, fuel your body. Convenience stores are the central repository for everything that fuels your life, and no more so than the NACS Show. Here on site, we're talking to a lot of great people. We got a lot of great guest hosts and co-hosts helping us out. We're going to have a wonderful time learning about what's going on in the market. So let's take a listen to what the attendees at the 2016 NACS Show had to say.
Welcome to Convenience Matters. I'm joined by Chief Executive Optimist of the Life is Good Foundation, Steve Gross, and joined by my co-host, Stephanie Sikorski, with NACS, the Director of the NACS Foundation and Mission Marketing. My name is Carolyn Schnare. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, just to kind of kick it off, in our industry, we have a lot of unique store names and job titles, and yours stood out for me, Chief Executive Optimist. So what does that mean?
You know, I never felt like a CEO. You know, like, I don't know, like an officer. I just don't feel officerly. So we're about optimists.
Maybe we should work on that.
Yeah, you know, to be officerly. So I felt like, you know, it was more natural to be a chief executive optimist because, you know, our whole mission is about spreading the power of optimism.
No, I think that's powerful to carry it right in your job title. And so you talked about spreading the mission of optimism and being an optimist. What does that mean to you specifically in what you do?
Well, really, the focus, you know, when we look at optimism, it's simply about being able to see the good. And, you know, what you see is what you get. And, you know, if you look out and all you can see is the pain, the challenge, the suffering, the obstacles, well, it's hard to live a good life. So one of the things that we're really focused on is how do you see the good in yourself, the good in others, the good in the world around you, not ignoring the other stuff that is there. But once you can see the good and you can focus on the good, then you're able to really leverage that good to make things better for yourself, for others in the world around you. And that's what we're all about.
So can you tell me a little bit about what you're all about? I mean, I know the Life is Good brand is a clothing company.
Yes.
But you're more than a clothing company.
Well, I mean, we consider ourselves a company that's about spreading the power of optimism. And we do it in a number of ways. We're an integrated for-profit and not-for-profit company. So our for-profit company is a lifestyle retail brand that is about, you know, sharing simple words of wisdom with original artwork and helping to bring a community of optimists together. That's what our brand is about. And the not-for-profit side is the Life is Good Kids Foundation. And our focus is spreading the power of optimism to help kids heal. And the way that we do that is we partner with the frontline professionals, the frontline men and women who dedicate their lives to building healing, life-changing relationships with kids. So whether they're preschool teachers or social workers or psychologists or nurses or child life specialists or coaches or counselors, how do we help people who have dedicated their lives to children? How do we help them bring their best, most optimistic self to their work?
I love that.
Thanks.
I love that. As a mother of two, it's very close to my heart. And one of the things we've been doing with NACS, our NACS Refresh initiative, is to grow the industry's image. And some of the things we've done is work with getting healthier foods in stores, which is better for communities and schools, and just encouraging a healthier lifestyle. So I love that. I get that.
Yeah, cool. Well, and I think it's people, like we know as a brand, consumers have a lot of choices when they go out to put something on their chest or they're going to buy a brand. Like they can go into a store and buy almost anything. And they want to know if you're going to sport a brand or be a brand loyalist or enthusiast, you want to believe that your brand is real and authentic and about goodness. And if we're a company that's about spreading the power of optimism, you know, we got to live that mission. And so we take that very seriously. We don't want to just be that's our image or that's the brand, but that it's real and it comes from our hearts.
One of the things that I liked is that you weren't just talking about the impact that you all make as an organization or an entity. You talked to us about how we all can make a difference and embody that idea of optimism. And we talk about half of the U.S. society goes to convenience stores every single day. So that's powerful in itself, and we have a lot of opportunity to make an impact. Is there something that, in your experience and having visited convenience stores, even growing up, where you see an opportunity for us?
Sure. I mean, well, one of the things we sometimes look at charitable work as being like us and them. We are going to give to those people who are less fortunate. And, you know, there's need all around. We are the givers and the receivers. You know, as we are one kind of collective human family. And on any given day, the people that walk into your store, many of them have suffered. All of them. If you live long enough, you're going to lose people that you love. You're going to be overwhelmed. You're going to get sick. You're going to get scared. You're going to feel alone. You're going to feel despair. And everyone deserves to be cared for. So when you think about customer service or customer care, when someone walks through that door, you're helping them. You're providing service for them. And part of that is, you know, seeing them, welcoming them, having them feel that they're valuable and important to you. So I think that there's always opportunities to see the good and grow the good. And, you know, we sometimes think about, like, you know, my dad would talk a lot about, like, you know, we have people who are saying, like, we want world peace, but they don't talk to their brother. You know, it's like we sometimes look at these big grandiose visions. We want to help people. We want to feed the hungry, but you might have a neighbor who doesn't have enough to eat. So how do we care for the people that walk into our store and become part of our community?
I think that's a great point to break it down like that, is that it can be overwhelming, as you said, to look at the big picture and I'm just one person or one store or one community, and how do I really make a difference? And I think what you're saying is to break it down into manageable chunks. And if there's a collective effort across, for example, our industry, and if everyone's doing their part to do that, then we can make a big difference.
Exactly. I mean, it's you can never underestimate the power of a simple, kind interaction. It has a ripple effect. So if somebody walks into your store, and they come in and they're looking for something, or let's say they're a little short on money and they want to get something, and you say, hey, you know what? Don't worry. I see you here again. You get me the next time. You know, I know you need this. Have a great day. And you're warm to them. You're kind to them. You're sweet to them. Well, they're much more likely to, when they leave that store, you know, return the favor. Mm-hmm. They're more likely to pay it forward. And they're going to take that vibe of goodwill, and they're going to be more likely to be kind to the next person. And it has a ripple effect. You know, what we always say at Life is Good vibes are contagious. If you're rude to somebody and that person gets agitated, they bring that agitation with them. And unless they're really disciplined, they're likely to throw that agitation out onto somebody who doesn't deserve it. And then it kind of spreads as well. So, you know, the technology is the same. Good vibes are contagious and bad vibes are contagious. So we would much rather, the world needs a lot more good vibes than it does bad.
You used the term negativity Velcro in your speech earlier today at the general session.
Well, it was, you know, saying that the term that we learned is humans have a negativity bias, that we take in, our brains are kind of like Velcro for bad experiences and kind of like Teflon for good. And that focus is when bad things happen to us, we remember them. They have a high emotional charge. And the reason is that, you know, the way we evolved to survive, if something bad happens to you, you want to remember that so it doesn't happen again. So if you're a monkey in the jungle and you get attacked by a snake and you survive it, you want to remember everything about that snake attack so you never put yourself in a position to get attacked again. Where oftentimes good things that happen to us don't have that same charge because it's not like a survival charge. And it's one of the reasons why, if you look at the media, there's so much negativity in the media. Why? Because negativity sells. The term in local news is, if it bleeds, it leads. And that's why you hear, like, in Tulsa, Oklahoma, someone was run over by a train. Well, that's not necessary. That's not the news. That is something that happened, but the local news is sometimes confused with the violent death and tragedy report. And so people are very hungry to receive this kind of negative information, not because we're bad people, but because we want to learn from it to make sure it doesn't happen to us. And as a result, we sometimes don't take in and celebrate the goodness and the abundance that we have. We don't wake up in the morning saying, thank goodness I don't have a toothache. You don't say that when you wake up unless you went to bed with a toothache. because you just take for granted that your teeth are fine, or that I woke up this morning, or I can actually stand and get out of bed without pain, or I can go to the refrigerator and I have electricity and I have food. There's all these things that they become our norm. And so we sometimes are so preoccupied by the challenges that we don't take time to celebrate the abundance and the goodness that we have in our lives.
I think that's great.
I love that. Words to live by. You also said in the general session that smiles and laughs and in-store will lead to better bottom line profits.
I promised it. I guaranteed it. And I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. So.
There's the stamp.
Yes.
There it is.
I mean, people have a choice of where they go to do their business. And you want to go to a place that when you go there, it makes you feel good.
Where everybody knows your name.
Yeah, where, if
You're
they don't
from
know,
Boston.
they say, hey, what's up? And smile and, hey, how's it going today? And really care. Like, not saying how's it going as a reflex, but can you really care and say, hey, how you doing today? Oh, wow, having a party today? You buying all this stuff or whatever, whatever it is. Or, hey, I see you bought these. Have you tried this? It's new. It's really good. And not just because you want to sell them something, but because you really do believe that it's really good and that maybe they'd like to try it because you feel like you know them a little bit based on some of their purchases. And I just think like those little things, they make a big difference. One of my favorite quotes is pay attention to the little things because one day you're going to realize they're really the big things. We go into I was talking with one of the reporters, we go into a little Dunkin' Donuts, which is, near our house. And the person who's always behind the counter always gives my son like a little munchkin. And he smiles at him and talks to him. My son's like, can we go to this Dunkin' Donuts? There's a lot of ones he wants to go. He wants to go to that one because he knows he's going to see his friend there.
Well, it makes a big difference when you're validated and someone recognizes that you're a person and does
totally.
something that's kind.
Well, no one wants to just be a customer. Like we're human beings. We're not consumers. We're human beings that consume, but if you're viewed and you feel like your only role here is just being a consumer and you're dehumanized, you're not going to have the same pull to go. I mean, you'll still go to stores. It's convenient. You're right there. But if you have a choice, you really want to go a place where you feel some kind of a social or emotional connection.
Speaking of convenient, tell me about that word. You used that since childhood, you said.
Yeah, when I was a kid, we had a store. It was convenient. We always just called it convenient. Like, what are you doing today? We're going to convenient. And it was a destination. That's what you do when you're a kid. Like, you save up some money to maybe get some candy, maybe get a slush puppy, and you take a walk and you go to convenient and you buy your stuff and then you eat it. And that was what you might do on a Saturday. What are we going to do today? I don't know. Let's walk to convenient.
Right.
And I remember just being a place where you'd find cool stuff that you didn't find anywhere else. Like you could go to the pharmacy, but they didn't have like the cool candy. You wanted to find like some of that quicksand with the lick stick that you could,
Well, you could get so much, right?
Yeah.
Like $1 went a long way.
Totally. Well, and you had like your ordinary candy that you can get anywhere, but then you weren't going to find now the equivalent, like your atomic fireball. You're not finding those at CVS back in the day. You got to go to your convenience store because they had cool stuff there. And I remember the first time we saw a slush puppy machine where it was self-service. You didn't have to make the decision whether you wanted grape or that blue raspberry. You could have them both. You could mix them together, make yourself a purple drink. I liked it. We used to take all the flavors, mix them together. We used to call it jungle juice.
Oh,
and
my son does that.
Yeah. But I also remember that when you're a kid and you go to a store, you want to feel like you're welcome there, not just tolerated there. So, I mean, sure, you got to help kid, we couldn't be too loud or we couldn't just hang out there all day and take up, but when we go to convenient, people appreciated us being there.
So that brings me to another thing that you talked about. And we touched on this earlier about the human factor. And one of the things that I thought was interesting, you brought up the idea or the concept of a superhero and it not being what we think as the caped crusader, that to be a superhero means something different. You talked about authenticity.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're going to change the world, we have to cultivate our ability to bring in our best human characteristics and traits. And so when we think about what some of our most powerful traits are things like compassion. When we have compassion for other people and we care and we care about their welfare. And we look at bad things that happen to them as if they're happening to us. I mean, that's one of the most beautiful things about being human. That is a superpower. That's a human superpower. And so when we think about making the world a better place. Well, how many lives are going to be changed if we improve our capacity to be compassionate? I mean, we would be much less likely to have genocide if you start to see people as they're just like me. With compassion the literal translation is to suffer with, and to be able to see another person's suffering, to be able to see another person's humanity and actually care. We are hardwired to be compassionate to each other, unless we perceive as other people as being outside of our tribe. Then we got somehow, we're wired to hurt them. And so one of the ways that we can grow is we have to begin to see our sameness. We have to be able to look at people and say, wow, that's a human being just like me. And they may have different culture, they may have a different upbringing, they may look a little bit different, but they got a heart and blood and they got, they got humanity like I do.
What's your favorite superhero?
Favorite superhero? Great question. I mean, I'm going to go with Wonder Woman. I just, I like her style. I think the Hulk is, I like his muscular build. I just think it's kind of unfortunate because you can't really find clothes that fits.
Well, he just rips him off. He breaks him if he gets them.
Yeah,
right?
but then he's walking around. You wonder what happens if his clothes get dirty.
I wonder how much he spends on clothing.
I think he just takes it. I mean, I think when he's green and angry, he just takes.
Well, Steve, thank you for joining us. Stephanie, thank you. Find the good.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
You've been listening to Convenience Matters, brought to you by NACS. For more information about the National Association of Convenience Stores, go to nacsonline.com.